me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
We have over 290 bases, major installations around the world throughout all the services. That also includes our Coast Guard, who are part of Homeland Security now. They're still part of the group, as we call Armed Forces Recreation. But that's what we're doing. We're providing all sorts of recreational business activities to support the quality of life for our military members and their families, retirees, and a lot of other eligible patrons. So we try to take care of them. We serve those who serve our nation.
Welcome back to the Daily Parks and Rec Show Leadership Series. Today we're bringing you a conversation with someone who has dedicated his career to serving communities in a truly unique way. Our guest is John Prue, MWR Program Analyst and a member of the NRPA Board of Directors. MWR, Morale, Welfare, and Recreation, provides vital programs and services that support the quality of life for military members and their families. From fitness and recreation to family support, it's about building resilience, connection, and well-being for those who serve. In this episode, John shares leadership lessons from decades of experience, insights on building culture in both military and civilian settings, and a behind-the-scenes look at the impact of serving on the NRPA board. So, whether you're leading a local department, planning your next big program, or simply passionate about building community, this conversation is packed with wisdom and inspiration you won't want to miss. Let's dive in. All right, we are live again. This is Craig LeBlanc, the doorman with the Daily Parks and Rec Show, founder of DPRS Media Network or company. We have a first of all, I hope everyone had a great weekend. Hope many of you didn't work too hard on some random special event that might have been thrown in your lap in Parks and Rec. But we have a very special guest that is, I would say he is a master compared to anyone else that I've had on the show with regards to MWR, which for those that aren't familiar, it's essentially the Parks and Rec of the military, but they do so much more. So he's going to help teach us a lot about that. Plus, he sits on the board of directors for NRPA. But before we get started, let me go ahead and play our quick thank you video to everyone that's helped us get this far as we enter our phase 3 of creating a media company where Parks and Rec can call home, all the stories can be told, and we can hopefully provide a ton of value to the community through our partners. And as we create media for Parks and Recreation. So
from a simple mic in a rec center to a full-scale media company for the people who power our parks. 200 real stories with one powerful mission: to lift up the voices of Parks and Rec professionals across the country. From maintenance crews and young interns and youths who love sports, to directors and public servants making a difference. Unsung heroes behind every clean trail, every weekend tournament, every safe, welcoming park. This milestone isn't just about the content, it's about the people, the passion, the purpose. To every guest, thank you. The next chapter starts today. This DPRS Media Co. For public service.
All right, so as we enter phase 3 of DPRS Media Co., which phase 3 is where we create 12 new weekly, at least monthly shows with all the different topics that need a lot more attention to detail and a deeper dive. And I'm hoping that me and John can get our act together and produce at least a monthly show just on MWR for the Parks and Rec community. So that's kind of where this conversation's starting. And so I just wanted to bring him on as a show, to have a standalone show to kind of talk more about that. But let me go ahead and play something for partners. We have actually had a flood of people that have vendors that call Parks and Recreation home. They've been serving this industry for decades. And so really appreciate all the love and support that they're giving us, and I think we're really going to do something special here over the next few months as we.
Are you a vendor, brand, or service provider ready to connect with the heartbeat of local communities? At DPRS Media Co., we tell the stories shaping parks and recreation across America. Through videos and newsletters, we reach frontline leaders, city directors, and decision makers every single week. From youth sports and facilities to programming and policy, our audience is your audience. Sponsoring or partnering with DPRS Media Co. to build, budget, and buy for their communities. Launching a new product, growing your presence in public spaces, targeting cities, counties, or departments, DPRS is your trusted media partner. Whether you're in software, turf, cities, or special events, partnering with DPRS puts your brand in the story. With commercials, interviews, social campaigns, newsletters, and live shows, we're your media team. Partner with us and grow your impact in the rec industry. DPRS Media Co. Stories that move Parks and Rec forward. Your audience is here. Let's meet them.
All right, so, well, let's go ahead and kick this off, John. What, maybe just give a brief definition to those not familiar with MWR. What is MWR? How do you explain that to someone who's never heard of it, especially whether you're in or out of Parks and Recreation?
It's interesting. I jokingly tell people what I do, and they're like, "What? You don't have to be in the military? They actually provide all those things on military bases all the time." But actually, I like to say we are a park and recreation district on steroids. So, and what I mean by that is we're really taking care of the quality of life for our military and family members at installations across the world. To be quite honest, and we have over 290 bases, major installations around the world throughout all the services, and also includes our Coast Guard, who are part of Homeland Security now. They're still part of the group, as we call Armed Forces Recreation. But that's what we're doing. We're providing all sorts of recreational business activities to support the quality of life for our military members and their families, retirees, and a lot of other eligible patrons. So we try to take care of them. We serve those who serve our nation.
Yeah. Yeah, and I actually had a great conversation with Desmond Timmons, who did 2 years overseas working with the MWA. And wait, did I say that right?
MWR.
Yes, MWR.
We love our acronyms in the
right.
federal government.
Yes. The alphabet soup is here to stay. And what I loved about it is, we talk about high stress environments. I think we all kind of got a glimpse of that in COVID. What happens when the whole world kind of grinds to a halt and has all kind of these emergency response stuff, and the value of our parks and recreation, our outdoor spaces, places that we can kind of unplug. But the military has been operating under high stress environments, I guess, forever. And you gotta have something for the troops to just kind of unplug for a second of the chaos that they live in every day. And so y'all have been doing that, like you said. Our high stress environments are on steroids in NWR. Anything else to be said about what they do, especially overseas or in combat zones?
Yeah, I mean, it's as we call it, the operation tempo. Op tempo is high. A lot of times, the stress level can be up there, depending on what's going on. That's not 24/7 all the time, but in certain parts, it really is. And so, that key to morale is pretty crucial. But we do a lot of things to take care of those folks, and we work with the obviously military leaders. We are a tool in the toolbox that they can use to make sure that we are delivering those programs and services to take care of those that serve our nation. The overarching goal really is to deliver high quality, customer focused recreational programs, leisure programs, and services that directly contribute to the resiliency, retention, readiness, and ultimately the quality of life of our sailors. They're warfighters, and we're here to support. We're part of the warfighting team. We're here to support even as civilians. It is super crucial that we are up to our game so that we are doing what we need to make sure they're ready to go. Hopefully never having to fight a war, but they're constantly preparing for something of that. And if you've had a friend or family tied to the military, I think you probably understand. If you have no affiliation with the military, that's what we do. We prepare to defend our country, and they need to be prepared at the utmost high level, and we're there to support them, make sure they're focused on the mission, and not worrying about their family members wherever they may be, whether they're on a deployment or they're stationed there. They can focus, and elements of MWR and child and youth services can take care of their families. It's just one less thing they need to think about. Stay focused, laser focus.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. One of the next shows that we've really already launched, we just haven't announced it, and it's an esports show that's going to air on Saturdays, where for those that aren't into gaming, there's a huge push in Parks and Recreation to have these gaming facilities. And as I'm starting to understand more about the games that they play, I'm starting to notice that they'll have these little wars going on in these games. And if your village is kind of on fire and falling apart, the morale of the troops goes down, and they can't do, the little crossbow people can't fight near as hard when their morale is low because their village is on fire. And so it reminds me of, now that's a fake, that's all gaming going on. This is the real world, where I think super stressed out, you're just not as combat ready if your village is on fire. And so I think in a real world way, MWR keeps the morale higher, and they just, I think, are more combat ready when they have.
Well, it's funny you mention it. I know Navy Esports and our headquarters, Navy MWR, kind of jumped off and really did that. Now all the services have kind of an esports competition. We've got major sponsors that are tied behind it. We all have our individual Twitch channels. And not only are you getting the best of the best gamers who are participating for prizes around there and playing with their shipmates or folks they might have served with around the world, you're getting a lot of people just viewing these things. Our stats on Twitch are just crazy. And again, all the services are doing it at this level. But one thing I want to bring you back to morale and keeping it there, keeping it kind of the focus, because it really is about warfighting. And there's a lot of stats and research behind this, and military leaders will do this, but there's a quote from Army General George C. Marshall. Knowing him and what he did, especially during, the time he served and was a leader in there, he said, it's not enough to fight. It's the spirit we bring to the fight that decides the issue. It's morale that wins the victory. And so as we talk to our junior staff and mid-level managers, and I'm very involved with the Armed Forces Recreation Network through NRPA, as we talk to folks and mention that, no, we're not the only component for morale for the entire military. We're not going to stand up there and say we're that, but we are a big component of that morale, that tool in the toolbox for military leaders to be able to use to make sure the morale is good, because it does make the difference when we're talking about war fighting.
Oh yeah, it's huge. And I've always been a History Channel kind of person, where I watch these different battles and stuff. I was watching something on the Napoleonic Wars and how I think one of the Russian um, armies were showing up after 17 days of straight marching, and they literally go straight from that into battle, and they were just whipped.
Yeah.
Because they were just worn out, tired, no breaks. And the other people they were facing were well rested, they were ready to go, and they were much smaller force, and they won. And this is actually determined throughout history. So many battles, the morale of the warriors is like the deciding factor. And I think that's something that happens real time today, not just in history or in games. This is what we face every day.
And although we're stationed on military bases around the world to support everybody, we go forward. We do forward deployments with the troops. I mean, Iraq, Afghanistan was good examples of what we did. Although we used some contracting agents out there. I mean, we had recreation centers built in the palaces of Saddam Hussein, and some of those things that were there when our troops moved in. We in the Navy, and I jokingly kind of put fun boss under my title when you were asking me about that.
Yeah.
We have fun bosses out on all of the large deck ships on a regular basis, whether we're in conflict or not. They go out on deployments, a fun boss and a fit boss that head out. So we're out there supporting these populations of anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000 on these large deck ships, an amphib or a carrier. We have civilian recreation specialists out there supporting their needs on deployment. So yeah, it's when they're stationed on a base or they're forward deployed, we, and not only the Navy, but all the services are taking care of the troops, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know that oftentimes we say some of the lost generations of Parks and Recreation is that high school age. Like we find it hard to serve 15 to 25-year-olds. And I remember watching this documentary on aircraft carriers, and one of the guys that was on it said, an aircraft carrier is the largest floating high school in the world. That really is 18, 19, 20-year-olds. And that is what is operating this massive vessel. And this is the population that Parks and Rec struggles with engaging. Is oftentimes they'll keep them in youth sports, like a little baseball league when they're in grade school, and then they just disappear and they show up as adults later. But this is exactly a major part of the military population is that 15 to 25-year-old. I would think I don't even know a percentage. Is that like 80% of all military is between that age?
Yeah, I don't know the percentage itself, but it's a high percentage, and it's the most at-risk group because one, they're truly junior personnel coming in. So those single service members, and each service has its own individual program where it's focused on that single service member. They don't yet have a family. They might be living in the barracks or on a ship or wherever on a post by themselves. They're just maybe traveling from home for the first time. And yeah, lots being tossed at them after they get through boot camp and they're going to wherever for their first duty station. They're really important. They're kind of an at-risk group of people that we want to take care of. So there are specific programs and funding put to support that demographic as you're describing. And it's super important because there are a lot of choices, some of them bad choices they can make when they get liberty and go into town or go into a port call or whatever. What are we doing to provide those services? Great example in the Navy, we'll pull into port and we're already coordinating. We have fleet rec coordinators and the rec specialists on the ships are already coordinating with people wherever it may be. Let's say they're pulling into Rota, Spain, or maybe somewhere on a port in Japan. They're already talking about where they can either get hotels or tours and trips and have those positive leisure choices to make. So they come back safe and sound because as soon as they pull out, they're back on the mission and got to be laser focused again.
Yeah.
So important demographic. Glad you mentioned that, Craig.
Yeah. Yeah, and I hope y'all hear the listeners hear the sarcasm in my voice, but 15 to 25 years old, those were some of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. When I look back, And so how
We
have
all
y'all,
been there.
right? I think every one of us are like, man. And the thing is, at that time, you think you know so much because you're missing so much context in life. But you're so confident in your decision making at
Oh yeah,
that age. And then when you get to your 30s and 40s, you're like, oh my gosh, what if I only knew what I thought I knew back then? Um,
exactly,
any
exactly.
any words of wisdom of being a part of serving that demographic that you can maybe give to the general Parks and Rec community, how to work with 15 to 25-year-olds?
Um, I think you have to kind of try to put yourself in their shoes. At least I'm going to come from the military side of things, where they are. They're away from home. They're away from family, friends, maybe girlfriend, for the first time. Maybe they've made friends, but you can't assume that just because you may be in a training class with them, or you're serving, doing things in a non-combat situation. It doesn't necessarily mean you've made those friends. So put yourself in their shoes and have a discussion. We send our young programmers out who support that demographic, and that's the best thing we can do, is really just talk to them
Mm,
one-on-one or a small group, and kind of find out what they want to do. At the same time, you can kind of educate them on all these great services, and MWR is only kind of one of the quality of life portfolio that we cover. From the services we provide, counseling, family services, who provide individual counseling and support, financial management. They haven't managed their money sometimes for the first
mm,
time, and yeah, they're getting a paycheck, and they don't really have any true expenses because they may be living on base and their food is provided for them and their lodging, and they get a check and it all looks like a lot of money, and then pretty soon it's gone and they're living to the next paycheck. So financial management is
mm,
important. So all those things, just getting to know them, you can better serve them. So
mm.
that's kind of the advice I would give anybody. But it's a tough demographic. We've all been there. It's hard. We're all, as you said, very confident in our decision, even though we don't know better.
Yeah. I feel like at that age, you're doing the best you can with what you got. And
Yep.
so
Yep.
this is kind of the first time away from home, first time not having parents that are kind of running the ship for you.
Yeah.
And then now you're
Absolutely.
having to, run your own life in often high stress environments with the military. So it's a critical role that y'all play. Um,
Yeah. And
and
and tons of resources. We could go on all day talking about this quality of life portfolio and all the benefits and resources. And sometimes, they get too far into their career and they don't even realize all of the goodness that is being provided for them from our military services. But so it's constant battle. All of us within the Department of Defense, no matter what your job is, should be familiar with that, or at least be able to point them in the right direction to get help and support, because
mm,
there's a lot of benefits that come with serving with our military, both for the service member and of course their families that
mm.
come along the way throughout their career.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that they often don't realize the value that's being given to them. It reminds me of the days when I was in high school and I had an amazing high school coach. And then I came back and coached for one of the winningest high school teams in the country. And I look back on those days now, seeing how much those lessons paid off for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I think so, what y'all are providing for them, they might not realize it at first, how valuable this is gonna be to them in their adult life. But you don't wait for them to recognize that value before you give it to them.
Yeah, you can't. And their senior military folks, whether it's a lead petty officer in the Navy, I'm going to talk Navy ranks here,
Mhm,
or obviously their chief, who's senior enlisted. When you start getting into those, they become really good mentors, and the good petty officers and the chiefs that succeed and lead know how to mentor, and we have a close relationship with that community because we're providing them all the resources and telling them, hey, you're the best connection. If your chief tells you that, hey, the MWR is a great fitness center, or a great recreation center, or they're doing this trip next week down to Chicago or some big city or whatever, that's the best advertising we can have.
yeah,
And it's the kind of mentorship that they should be getting from their senior leaders in the Navy or any military service.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
crucial.
Yeah, and the military really is a lot about just training up your troops. And you're just getting like raw clay on day one, and you just got to
Yeah,
train them up and mold them and prepare them for what they don't even realize is coming their way.
yeah.
But those are life lessons that are going to stick with them forever.
Yeah, technical skills definitely most important as
Mhm.
warriors, but those life skills that they get coached up on is super important. Obviously,
Mhm.
it's important to all of us.
Right,
Yep.
right. So maybe give people a little background of how you got into this, go back to, high school, college, and then how did you get to where you are today? And maybe even, describe that journey to where you are right now. Oh, you still there? Let's
Yeah,
see.
I definitely can do that. I was a part. Yeah, I'm a little bit of connectivity issue maybe.
That's okay. I got you.
You good?
Yep.
You can hear
I
me?
can hear you great.
Okay. Yeah, I was a park kid growing up in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and so needless to say, I'm a Packer fan. I did not have a choice in the matter. So,
Right.
but yeah, I always did that. When I went to college, was kind of business major. Went to a university, kind of went for 2 years. Grades weren't bad, but I didn't know what business meant. What does that mean? I couldn't figure out a direction or what I wanted to do. And then worked with a counselor at the university. All of a sudden, he started asking me my interests, and pretty soon it got around to kind of recreation park management, helping people, supporting, kind of was my thing. So I ended up transferring to another university in our state, University of Wisconsin Lacrosse. Go Lacrosse! Kind of the park and recreation university for the state of Wisconsin. So I transferred out there and loved it. During the summers in Green Bay, I started becoming the parkee, so to speak, as we call them, the park leader
Mhm.
that I used to look up to when I was a kid playing at the parks, and did that for a couple summers while I was going to college. And then I was ready to do my internship, which was a requirement at the end, and had a couple offers from a local park district down the road in Appleton, Wisconsin, and there was a minor league baseball team, Class A team up in Appleton as well, which is just down the street. They offered me something. I didn't want to do the Parks and Recreation thing, and I saw through the minor league baseball. It was kind of more sales, and I'm like, I'm not sure if I want to do that. And at the last second, a colleague who was working with Naval Station Great Lakes on her internship kind of made a phone call and said, "Hey, you might want to check this out." And I hadn't even heard of military recreation. Maybe I missed that day in Rec 101 class, but I hadn't heard that there was recreation there. So, anyways, I interview with Great Lakes. They bring me on to do a 16-week internship. Things are going well. I'm just amazed. I really kind of bought into how seeing those young and Great Lakes is kind of the boot camp for the Navy, and it's kind of the quarter deck, as they call it, for the Navy. So everybody kind of starts at Great Lakes and then goes from there. So the importance of seeing those young sailors, men and women that were coming in, and how they appreciated our program, started getting that buy-in from me. Job opened up right towards the end of my internship. I applied for it. I got it. I finished my internship on a Friday. I went back and walked at graduation on Saturday, and Monday I was starting my career. And then I spent the next 34 years at Naval Station Great Lakes, eventually making it to the MWR director, kind of heading up the whole department. So 16 weeks turned into 34 years. That was, I didn't see that coming,
Yeah.
Craig.
None of us do. It kind of life sneaks up on us. Next thing you know,
Yeah.
a 16-week project turns into a lifetime project.
And going from intern to director in the same department. There's a lot of stories like that where interns have succeeded. We've had a really robust internship program throughout the military, certainly in the late 80s and early 90s. But not too many people stay in the same duty station. It just happened to work out. Right time, right place. I'll say a little bit of hard work on my part, but more lucky that things opened up and I was able to kind of progress and move up at the same duty station.
Okay. Well, what I'll do is I'll take our break slightly early because I want to play something for our Young Professionals Network and then have you talk more about that internship program because one of the groups, there's basically 5 buckets of people for Young Professionals Network. Of course, it's the students, the high school and college students. The second group are those that are doing interns. The third group is teachers and professors and mentors. But the hardest group, the 5th group, I'm trying to think of the 4th group. Oh, people that are just new to Parks and Rec. That's our 4th group. But our 5th group are those departments that run strong internship programs to come on our Friday show and tell us about that internship program. Sadly, there's very few Parks and Rec departments out of the 12,000 in America that have strong, robust internship programs, even though they all want one. Wanting something and having something, 2 different things. So I'll play this real quick, and then I'd love to get your take on how the military runs internship programs. So
yeah, absolutely.
We'll play Youth Sports Mastery, and right after that, we'll play our YPN promo.
At DPRS Media Co., we don't just create content. We elevate community through storytelling. Now, we're proud to introduce the newest addition to the family. Welcome to Youth Sports Mastery, the podcast where champions are shaped, not just on the field, but in life. Hosted by National Academy of Athletics founder Aaron Locks. Youth Sports Mastery dives deep into how youth sports can empower kids, strengthen communities, and build leaders. From coaching culture to recreation strategy, and from player development to parent impact, every episode brings game-ready insight from the people making it happen. Youth Sports Mastery goes live every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Only on the Daily Parks and Rec Show, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics and powered by DPRS Media Co. This is where purpose meets play.
All right, so if you haven't tuned into that Thursday show, if you're in youth sports, you've got to tune into Aaron's show on Thursday. Every Thursday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. He brings some of the best coaches and athletes on that show. And I know it's a big part of what Parks and Rec, and I think anything that's having to do with MWR or Parks and Rec, sports is a big chunk of how we kind of bring these life lessons home. Next promo is going to be on that YPN show we do every Friday at 12 noon Eastern. And then we'll talk about this internship program. I'll be right back.
Are you ready to lead the next generation of Parks and Rec? Whether you're a student, intern, or rising leader, welcome to the Young Professionals Network by DPRS Media Co. Our mission? To empower early career professionals in parks and recreation through mentorship, visibility, and real-world leadership development. Our vision? A national network of passionate, prepared, and purpose-driven leaders who shape the future of public service. Starting now. Powered by the Daily Parks and Rec Show, YPN gives you access to exclusive interviews, career-building resources, behind-the-scenes content, and live events, all created by and for the next wave of Parks and Rec professionals. Learn from seasoned directors, build your brand, get involved with national conversations that matter. Whether you're in youth sports, facilities, programming, or policy, YPN is your launchpad. Young Professionals Network. Your career, your community, your story.
All right, so tell us about this internship program that the military offers.
Did. Let me better explain that. We had a great program. When I came to Great Lakes, they were just kind of feeling it out, and a lot of the other bases around there were kind of doing their own thing, and that's within continental United States. So they were kind of working their own regional thing. Our headquarters had an outstanding program, and the Army did something. Marine Corps had a similar program, but our headquarters really kind of initiated an overseas program that they managed single-handedly, and would send people over to various places, whether it's Italy or Japan or Djibouti, Africa. Well, I don't know if Djibouti was a thing back in the 90s, but anyways, they had a great program that kind of dissipated over time. And some of it was related to funding. Some of it was more clarity and cost of being able to send people overseas and what those things were. And although there are onesie twosies out there kind of doing their own thing again, it's not as robust. But it's been a topic of conversation for sure. I mean, right before COVID, and then it kind of died off during that 1 or 2 year stretch in there, and now it's picking up again. So I do think there's going to be some great opportunities, but it's kind of onesie twosies. Now I am going to give a plug for the Coast Guard, Matt Persiak and Stephen Bishop, who kind of head up that program. Matt's the lead, and Stephen is kind of the master behind the internship itself. The Coast Guard has a great program, very structured program right now, and I can certainly get you that information to share with your audience, Craig. But don't I know it's going to be established. I know we're going to do something with a more formalized internship program with the military. It is coming. There's been too much talk. It's too important. We need to develop some human capital, and there are great stories. Not so much me, but I can outline 20 people that are, getting to senior status now that came through the ranks. Our leadership came through the ranks of the internship program. What's replacing them? We've got some good people that came through various other types of internships or previous experience, but we didn't have that platform where it just literally was an elevator of people coming in, an influx. They got the baseline information and experience to know what military culture is on a military base, and it's different. So although you're not in the military, you're a civilian, you still get embedded in the culture. And do you like it? Do you can handle it? So you weed people out. Now they've shown their stuff as an intern, even if it was only 14 or 16 weeks. And here's an opportunity to take an entry-level job and then move yourself along. We have too many success stories out there. We need to get back there. But right now, the Coast Guards have kind of the most complete program. They're smallest in terms of Coast Guard stations that support that, but it's a really good program. So certainly I'll get you that information from Stephen Bishop at the Coast Guard, and stay tuned. We will have a program somewhere in DoD that'll be a little more formalized. Now they are doing some internships with our youth and child services. We have accredited child care centers across DoD. They've been dabbling with internships, but from a recreation MWR standpoint, it's kind of onesie twosies. It's not as centered as I would like, and I think a lot of others feel the same way. But great topic. It's super important to have a pipeline of people to improve that human capital, which is so vitally important.
Yeah, and I think maybe the issue is the parent organizations, meaning when I say parent organizations, the Department of Parks and Rec and the military seems like in practice a constant internship program in and of itself, a forever internship program. But you're right. Oftentimes we forget that where are these people coming from? The ones that have signed up for the military, the ones that have signed up to work full-time in parks and recreation. And if we don't do a good job creating a pipeline of people that we're introducing to these two parent organizations or the industry of parks and recreation, then we may find ourselves just getting people who just kind of stumble in and not really being more intentional about let's create a robust pipeline of people that are new and exposed to this, that can see themselves doing this as a career path.
Another thought on this, and I'm part of the American Academy for Parks and Recreation Administration, and we have a task force already developed on career development, and it has borne fruit. And they created a career choice website and video, really good on NRPA's website, kind of getting people indoctrinated. We're even talking at the high school level, trying to get this into high school counselors' information, because some of the best people we have in the system are coming through our initial workers. They might be lifeguards, and then all of a sudden they're heading up lifeguard. Maybe they didn't go to college, but they've shown the skills or taken advantage of the internal training in our departments, and all of a sudden they fleeted up and now they're the aquatics manager, or whatever. We see it all the time in the military. A lot of our military dependents or family members who go from base to base to base have gone along the way, and guess what? They've gained a lot of skills and they become that next level manager. So it's not a formal college internship program, but we're kind of developing them in the same manner. And what scares me, and we've had discussions with academia on here, is, you've had this, I think the last time I looked, the 12th or 13th most popular major out there is sports management. Whereas parks and recreation, true parks and recreation and or leisure management has dropped down to, I don't know, I think it might be somewhere in the high 40s in terms of a major, and the programs already being offered. Some universities have meshed the two, which is probably not a bad way to do it. But the bottom line is there's less and less college students going to school for parks and recreation. It's a fact, and it's kind of scary. So I think the task force has kind of considered it. We've talked about it in terms of, hey, let's not just trap ourselves to the college internship program, which is a great way to bring people into the organization. Let's start looking at other ways we can corral young adults into our profession, even at lower levels, but then build them up and give them an opportunity. Very complex issue here, but it's kind of on the same focus. It's about career development. It's about introducing new people and creating that pipeline to the next level or next layer of managers and or leaders in our industry.
Yeah. And I think as an adult, I think we've all realized that a lot of times the real education doesn't start till you, get that real world exposure. And there's only so much you can learn from a book. It's like,
Absolutely.
to the women out there, how do you explain, how do you read a book about having a child versus just having one? There's no replacement for experiential knowledge. And I think the internship programs can almost take you out of that classroom setting and textbook and studying and watching videos and say, look, let's go do the thing that we're trying to teach you. And therein lies some of the most valuable lessons. And that's where internships can put you right into the workforce, put you right, working with people in an industry. And that's where you can make I think, just a better decision on what you're going to do with your life when you're working shoulder to shoulder with other people who have chosen to do something with their career.
I've done some adjunct instructing, and I have lots of friends in academia who will probably kill me for saying this, but not everybody's built for college or needs to go to college, depending on what you're looking to do. Maybe pause for a second coming out of high school, see what you want to do, and experience some things. And so I do think that's a real opportunity, and the cost of higher education is what it is. And sometimes it's better to get out there and feel and do what you want, and then find out it's a career. You can always go back and get the education. Maybe you even get the organization you're working for to help you with the tuition, which would be ultimately a good deal. So just different ways to get into the industry. We need to be open to it, and and look at it, because again, we need that next level of leaders coming into our industry for sure. It's a hot topic.
Oh, definitely. Okay, so I'm reading some of the notes that you put in here. Category A, mission sustaining programs. Can you speak a little bit on that?
If I talk about it, I'm not sure I can do. No, I'm just joking. It sounds official, doesn't it? Well, basically, we're broken up into funding elements. We do get taxpayer dollars that support our MWR programs, but we also run commercial establishments which get zero taxpayer dollars, and we have to make a way. Matter of fact, we need to break even or make a profit on those things. So these categories are broken up essentially. Mission essential for sure is kind of our core programs that the Congress or DoD thinks is absolutely there. So you're looking at fitness centers and gyms and libraries and those single service program members that we were talking about before. Those are the core programs that should be funded 100% and use taxpayer dollars. So that's what Category A mission sustaining is. Category B is really kind of the community support. Those are the tweeners. They're super important programs. We offer obviously childcare, youth programs through that, outdoor recreation equipment checkout, and maybe trips and excursions. We have information ticket and travel offices that help people out wherever they are. We have skill development programs, including auto skill programs where you can pull in your car and change your own oil or do your tires. And we've got somebody that's technically there to help support you with these self-help programs. So those are community programs, and they generally get maybe a little bit of taxpayer dollar support. They're certainly eligible for taxpayer dollar support. And then they use user fees to kind of bridge that gap. So those are the Category B ones. And then we have Category C. Category C is really the revenue generators I was talking about. They have to pay for themselves. They don't get typically any, maybe in an overseas situation, but typically don't get any support whatsoever from taxpayer dollars. They need to pay for themselves. So they need to, the cost recovery is super important if we're making an investment in those. But those are the golf courses, bowling centers, movie theaters, restaurants, food and beverage operations. We run a wide variety of recreational lodging programs, from RV campgrounds to actually lodging, cabins, cottages, various other things. So those, again, great benefits. They're costed affordably to our patrons, but ultimately they need to pay for themselves. And so we use only user fees really to support those type of operations. So those are the three main categories in which determine funding and how we kind of get our arms around those three buckets, how we get our arms around how we're going to support an MWR program at a local, regional, or even kind of across the enterprise.
Okay, so
did I confuse you?
No. It's one thing I love about working with people that have a military background is they're so well organized. Like, this is Category A, B, and C. This fits in this bucket, that bucket, and so I think we
very
can
creative, very creative. Category A, B, and C. We got really wild with the naming of that.
That's right. That's right. One thing I like to do is, as we have these new ideas of different weekly or monthly shows that we can create for the Daily Parks and Rec show, how do you feel like, let's just say we had, and we can brainstorm a little on this live, but how do you feel like if we had an MWR weekly show, what would you like us to talk about on that? I mean, there's so many, I mean, it's such a huge topic. But what do you think would be a good starting place?
Well, I think I think the mystery really comes to overseas. And although I've had a good fortune to be able to travel to a variety of locations, I did accreditation visits and I've done them in a really cool locations. I've had an opportunity to do some Navy entertainment tours, super cool. That could be a show in itself.
Yeah.
But not everybody serves overseas. I've never served overseas. Never had to live and pack up and spend a couple of years at a duty station over there. And although I'm a civilian, I'm kind of tied to that military community because I'm out there too. And there's plenty of people that have good stories. So kind of that overseas experience and how we support them when people are away from the United States, but yet, doing the good work of defending our country. how we support them. So overseas would be a great starting point, or at least somewhere a show. I think also really looking at some of the specific business lines that we offer within there. We offer some pretty unique stuff. Um, some things that potentially Parks and Recreation could mimic, whether it's recreational lodging or, our folks are pretty well versed in knowing how to run whether it's a snack bar or a full-fledged restaurant or a quick service area, or they're running food trucks on a military base. They can speak to food and beverage. That's an interesting business line that I know some of my fellow Park and Rec folks are starting to dabble in, but we've been way ahead of the game from that standpoint. So that's a couple things. And then of course the deployed forces side of it, to maybe get somebody on a show here where they've been the fun boss. Now, I'm just using the title today. I've never
Right.
been a fun boss. So get somebody on that talks about really recreating and creating that experience for those that are in a deployment, and what's that like when you're living on a ship and actually executing programs for your one person or two people, if you want to count the fitness person, to close to 5,000. If you got a full-fledged air wing on that carrier, you've got close to 5,000 people up there, and you're supporting them. Not sure I like that ratio, but they make it work. That's for sure.
Yeah. Now, is fun boss, is that kind of synonymous with a Park and Rec director in a way?
Yeah, because they're on the ship, and if you know anything about the Navy, everybody's got a boss title
Mhm.
to it when they're especially out on a ship. So somebody's this boss, that boss, the air boss, and so when the civilian recreation specialists came out there, or float recreation specialists, as we call them, came out there, they got labeled the fun boss appropriately. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of where that title came from.
Yeah, I would love to get a few fun bosses on the show, just to, give us some type of insight, if that's possible. I don't know if there's some type of rules about doing a podcast live when you're on
Yeah,
deployment.
I mean, it certainly can talk about that. It's upfront. It's, we need to talk to, the right people, let them know that we're going to talk about it. And I don't think we're giving any trade secrets, but they do need to
Right.
get permission to be able to talk live on a podcast.
Yeah. Now,
But
how
there's plenty of people that were former fun
mm,
bosses that could speak to it as well. So we'll figure it out.
yeah, that would be great, because I think we're doing a lot of the same work, and a lot of these people, they don't spend their entire career in the military, and they leave with these skills that they bring into our communities back home. And so, I think this is kind of preparing the leadership that are going to be our regular citizens, and many of them may find themselves like, well, who did I have on my show? It was Desmond, that came from this, and now he's
Yeah.
a state park director, and he's taken all these lessons he learned in the military. Now, what is your role in NRPA, and how has that kind of benefited you, in what you're doing right now?
Well, yeah, I graduated with that Parks and Recreation degree, and I've always kind of tried to tie to it. And at times during, thankfully, the military has a long history. Armed Forces Recreation. Matter of fact, there's a history piece that's going to come out in the Park and Rec magazine here for the 60th edition that I wrote. That gives a little history. So for your listeners out there, you want a little real history on Armed Forces Recreation, how it all came about, you can read about it
Mhm.
in Parks and Rec magazine, the September edition. But we've had always a close connection. Some people embrace it. Some come from the Park and Rec background. Some see that maybe they can use it, not use it. I always felt I thought it was important. I was fortunate enough to go to a few conferences, even when I was younger. I took advantage of the training. I got my certifications when I needed to. Believe it or not, and this really dates me, the CPRP, the Certified Parks and Recreation Professional Certificate, used to be called certified leisure professional.
Mm.
Nobody ever loved that title, but it was this, yeah, CLP. I even have my own little pin when I was certified that way. So it really dates me. But
Yeah.
so I always took advantage of it, got a chance to be very involved with the Armed Forces Recreation Network early in my career, and then eventually got on the program committee and spent 8 years there, got a chance to chair that committee before I rolled off, and then was fortunate. Somebody asked me to kind of throw in an application or consider the board of directors. So I did. And in 2022, I was selected to the board of directors, and I'm just starting up on my third year term. So 3-year term, that is. So I'm just passionate about what we do as an industry. Yes, I'm really passionate about Armed Forces Recreation, MWR. But the flip side is I live in a community. We have great county parks and city parks, and I want to see that everywhere. We provide that essential services, and every community, every group, every citizen should have access to those parks. So I'm really passionate about what we did, and everybody should know by now. We rolled out a strategic plan this past year. I think Christine and Jesus, who's our current chairman, or chair of the board, have done a nice job communicating that. But again, essential services moving forward, I'm super passionate about it. And NRPA is the one group, and I'll circle it back to Armed Forces Recreation, the one group that actually brings us together. Believe it or not, Department of Defense, you could serve on a working group. There's some cross pollination between the services, but for the most part, they work in stovepipes, and rarely do we get together, certainly not at that mid-level programming level, to have these conversations. NRPA has been there to bring that armed forces group together. Last year at conference, over 225 armed forces folks got together. We had a professional training institute the day before NRPA started. We're doing one virtually this year because of some of the things that have happened in the federal government this past year. Not a lot of travels happening, but hopefully we're back on for Philly in 2026 to get everybody together. But even in the monthly meetings, pulling people together and having that conversation across the services, NRPA has been the bridge, and that's awesome.
Yep. Yep. And I think NRPA is, just like you said, it's been there for a long time. It's bringing everybody together.
60 years.
Yeah. And hopefully, well, first of all, I would love to get that article from you as well. I'd love to post that in our newsletter to kind of share it with our audience as well, and get that thing as much airtime as possible.
Yeah, for sure. It should be rolling out this week. They typically come out the week before with the edition. So I'm excited to see it as well.
Oh yeah, it's going to be great. Okay, so I do have a question for you. We've come close to the end of the show. Actually, before that question, I want to hear your sales pitch. If you are sitting in front of a group of undecided high school or college kids, don't know what they want to do with their life, what kind of testimony can you give to working with MWR to them?
Wow, that's a tough one. I'll say I think I would start with, well, let me just get into it. Do you want to be a sports athletic coordinator? How about youth sports coordinator? Does that interest you? How about fitness? Do you want to be a fitness specialist or trainer? Get into the fitness industry. How about special events? We have special event managers, entertainment, hospitality, ticket and travel manager. You can help people set up trips wherever around the world and sell discounted tickets to our military members. You want to be in golf business. You want to be a golf pro, food and beverage director, recreational lodging. You want to run a campground. That's exciting. Outdoor recreation specialists. We do some of the greatest excursions out there for our military. You could be leading those trips or managing the trips and deciding where we're taking them. You could work child and youth programs. You could work in deployed forces and actually be a float recreation specialist on a ship. Or do you like the support services? Do you want to be a business person or an accountant, or maybe work in HR? we have all of those components rolled up into what's called MWR, Quality of Life Program. So if any of those positions or jobs are of interest, you might want to consider us. This is really turning into a sales pitch, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the
That's what I
best
want.
thing is about it, the best thing about it is the pay's not bad. You know, if for this industry, I'll take our pay, and the benefits are great. We have 401k programs, and guess what? Not many people out there, but there is government pensions, both on the non-appropriated fund side, non-taxpayer dollars, and our civil service billets. So pension and 401k, great health benefits, and really cool jobs to take care of our finest, serving those who serve our nation. So where do you sign up? See me, I'll point you in the right direction.
Fantastic.
How's that?
I think that was the best pitch we've had on the show out of 232 episodes. And as you were saying it, I'm like, wow, there really is. I can't think of an industry that can offer so much of just having real purpose and fulfillment, having a great time doing it. And on the backside of that, you get paid to do this and you get great benefits. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how this is not the most sought after industry.
You know,
We're,
fun fact, Craig, we have over 4.5 billion, I think was the last stat I saw. This is coming out of 22-23 stats of that's our industry. That's that MWR quality of life. We've got 290 military bases. We have tons of employees working for our organization around the world, and we're a $4.5 billion industry. That's pretty impressive. That's big. And you know, we always have room for more and more good people to work
yeah,
for us.
yeah, it really is. Okay, so I have a question that comes from Jared Chestnut, and Kimberly. She's the director over in Collinsville, Illinois. They actually have a tradition on this show that, and you're going to have to leave a question for our next guest. But their question they leave for you is, what are some creative ways to establish our value to our city leaders? And I guess for you would be to our military leaders, the value that MWR brings to its people.
Mm. I think you have to consider the health and wellness aspect of what we do. We all have components, and I just rattle off a bunch of business lines, but you know, the number one core thing that we do and is important is we manage the fitness and the fitness level of our military. And take it a city, fitness and health of our citizens are super important. So that's a key thing that you want to put in front of any leader in terms of the importance we do. The other piece is people don't join a volunteer force. If we're talking about military, people don't move into cities and communities when they don't see the value of their parks and recreation, or in this case, the benefits of the quality of life services for our armed forces. So um, you don't sign up to be in the military if the benefits are bad. It's a volunteer force. You might be patriotic and say, I want to do this, but you look at the big picture. How do we take care of you when you do join? It's not because you're going to make a ton of money. It's because we're going to take care of you and your family. And I think a city says the same thing. People don't move into your community if you have no parks services or limited park services and your infrastructure's crumbling. People don't come in there. So you don't get people coming in, and we take care of them from a health and wellness standpoint. That, I guess, that would be my answer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great answer. And I think, you know, we see these cities that are struggling and it seems like there's turmoil all around. It's really hard to get, you know, to think that you're going to want to move to that city, raise a family, you know, be productive member of society when there's, you know, chaos all around. And so I think that's where I love that you labeled the Parks and Rec industry as an essential service, and it really should be considered that way. And there are actually a lot of communities around across America that this is the most important industry and the last to get cut. And unfortunately, there are some that it's just the opposite. It's the first to get cut. And so I think it's good that we kind of move that framework to essential services that y'all provide.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, so what would be the question you want to leave for our next guest?
And this is something I think we're struggling with, but we're certainly a lot more open to working with local communities. So if you have a military base close to you, or you certainly have veterans or retirees from the services that live in your community, how do you reach out to your military members or veterans and support them? Um, and even if you have, I'm getting off on the question. I can rephrase it for you to tighten it
Mhm.
up. But
Yeah.
really, I guess the importance of having people in your community that have served. We have a lot of people that live outside the fence line, and in some of our bases are commuter bases. They may use the MWR services when they're at work, but they live out in communities.
Mm,
How do we reach those folks? They may
mhm,
not want to drive in. It might be a smaller base that doesn't have a more robust program. Not that it's not a good program, but nothing to bring them back on the weekends or at night. How do we support those military members and or retirees or veterans out there in your community? So from a Parks and Rec side, how do you connect with maybe an
mm,
MWR professional if you live close to a military base and get some goodness going? And how can we help each other
mhm.
deliver those essential services?
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
and I think in a way, this is a very important question that park and rec directors are constantly considering who among their people are not being served or you don't have anything for. And so we often look towards, handicapped or the elderly or single moms or maybe high schoolers. But I don't think I've ever heard, how are we serving the former military or the active military in your community? Because that is another population that we don't want to just leave out hanging and have nothing for. That's very good. Good question.
yeah, yeah,
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. That hour flew
awesome.
by. And offline, we're definitely going to get together and figure out how we can launch a monthly, at least, or a weekly show just for the MWR people of the world and create some great content for them.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you, Craig. Appreciate it. Love your show. Loved our conversation going into here, and whatever we can do in the future is going to be awesome. We have lots of people, a lot better guests than I am, that can talk about cool experiences supporting our military. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, my hope is that we have a weekly show just to talk about MWR and everything they have going, because that's only 52 shows out of the year. I don't think we have any problem with guests and getting great topics to talk about so we can bring value to that part of our community.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Great,
Absolutely. Have a
great
great
having
day.
you on. Yep. You too, John. Thanks.
Bye bye.
Bye. All right. So another great show. And this is something we've been kind of cooking in the background. NWR, for all practical purposes, essentially the Parks and Rec department of the military. And it's a critical role to have your troops having, good morale, welfare, recreation, which is what MWR stands for. MWR means morale, welfare, recreation, military parks and recreation. As soon as I met John, I was like, this is an obvious show because it is quite different. And I think the military long ago recognized that the morale of its people is, can be the difference between losing lives and or winning, having a victorious military versus a military that's just not combat ready. And so my hope is that we can create a monthly or weekly show just for this part of Parks and Recreation. So, John, thank you so much for coming on to the show. I look forward to creating something special with you. All right. So some of the announcements we have. Yes, we are meeting Tuesday, 4 to 6 at an undisclosed location. Don't worry. I will disclose the location at NRPA. We will be there. We're looking at a little sports bar, but we may end up just hosting it 4 to 6 right there in the convention center, because I know they have a big meetup that evening that NRPA is hosting, and we don't want to pull away from that at all. And then we're going to meet for coffee Wednesday morning. There's a couple of coffee houses. Again, I haven't picked a location yet, but just, pencil that in. Come meet the Daily Parks and Rec Show. Your host, Craig LeBlanc, Aaron Locke, Sherry, a lot of the other people and guests are going to be there as well. So I'd love to meet y'all in person after this long journey of 32 episodes, over 500 interviews as we create this. I know a lot of our guests are going to be there, so I want to meet y'all in person. Now, we are also booking annual conventions for the states. We've already penciled in Kentucky, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. I'm sure is going to do a repeat. California looks like we're getting ready to sign everything to be able to attend theirs next year, and there's a couple others in the works. So if you're interested in having the Daily Parks and Rec show air live from your convention the whole time, we will do live interviews. We'll run our regular shows from your convention, and we'll also interview vendors, the people that are putting on the convention, and attendees. And I think this is a fun way to try to combine the real world in-person meetups and conventions that the state associations host every year, and at the same time continue to build content for the industry. I think this is going to be something special. And we've done this a couple times already. So now we're just trying to get it a little more organized for our 2025-26 year coming up. So if you're interested, hit me up on LinkedIn. I live on LinkedIn. Pretty much, I think I'm just a LinkedIn meme sometimes, but you can find me there, and we'll be happy to get y'all plugged in and hopefully pencil y'all in to be able to attend y'all's events and do this live from your state association. Now, a couple things we have going on also. Esports Mastery is just doing an amazing job. It is its own show. We also have a lot of other shows cooking in the back. It looks like one that's going to launch very fast is, well, actually, we've already got a strategic partner for a show just focused on technology, Internet of Things, smart cities with our strategic partner, Outdoor Link. And we have a couple others that are looking to sign on to that show as well. Another one that will be launching, it's actually already launched. We're just in the background building out the show, the times and everything, is we are now going to have, this is kind of an official announcement, an esports for Parks and Recreation. And it's where we're going to run tournaments, and we're going to do it every Saturday. We don't know exactly the time. And so if you have an esports department or an esports room, what we'll do is we will be able to have like City of Miami versus Henry County, Georgia versus maybe City of Denver. And what we can do is we can create a regular Saturday competition kind of league style that will be all esports in Parks and Recreation. And so we'll be launching that. Just give us another couple of weeks as we get all of our ducks in the row, but we'll be looking for that as well. We have, like I said, we're in discussions with a lot of strategic partners, vendors that have been serving this Parks and Rec community for quite some time. I know we've got a couple of companies that we're also working on doing software in Parks and Recreation. Of course, we're still pushing our urban forestry. We've got a couple of great vendors there. And then we've got some really cool conversations going on around an aquatics show. So these are all going to be coming out in this phase 3. It's going to be like maybe 6 to 12 months of us launching this kind of stuff. We'll also bringing on a couple of hosts like myself, because one single person cannot do it all. So I actually am going to have some really good hosts that are going to do exactly what I do and help co-create with our strategic partners some really good programming and some good shows so that we can do our part in creating a 24/7 network of constant Parks and Rec content, where and not just general content, but nuanced content that speaks to the specific parts of Park and Recreation, which have really high degrees of mastery. And the way I look at it as, you could do 10, 20 years in aquatics and attain a high degree of mastery of how it's done well in your city. It really doesn't prepare you for maybe doing another career in urban forestry or in esports. And so these topics really deserve their own weekly show, so that we can dig deep and bring in professionals from across the country to produce 12 to 52 hours of content on those specific, departments of what is the Parks and Rec industry. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. I'm going to go ahead and play another little promo for our strategic partners, and then I'll go ahead and close it out with our regular promo for the show. So this is Craig LeBlanc, the doorman with the Daily Parks and Rec Show. Thank you all for attending today. If you have listened this far and you're not on our YouTube channel, please go find it, like and subscribe it. We got to get that subscriber count up so that we can go live on YouTube. Now, I know the esports side of this is going to explode, so I think we'll get all the viewers we need on the esports side. But I really appreciate all the love and support we've gotten from everybody in the Parks and Rec community, and I promise we're going to keep going. So love you guys. We'll see y'all here again tomorrow. Thanks.
At DPRS Media Co., we believe Parks and Recreation isn't just a service, it's the heartbeat of our communities. We exist to honor the people, the vendors, and the leaders shaping the future of Parks and Rec. Our mission is simple: to tell their stories, highlight their careers, and celebrate their essential work. Our vision is bold: to be the trusted hub where leaders, vendors, and communities unite, inspiring innovation, sharing wisdom, and building a stronger, healthier nation. Through over 220 live shows and 6 weekly series, the Leadership Series, Facility Maintenance, Young Professionals Network, Youth Sports Mastery, The Rec Room, and Growing Leaders, plus our industry-leading newsletter, the weekly Parks and Rec Post, we're building a media platform made for the Parks and Rec community. And now, we're inviting strategic partners to co-create this story with us. As a partner, you'll gain 12 hours of annual live exposure with custom shows highlighting your expertise, polished 60-second promos refined for maximum impact, year-round visibility with dozens of replays across our media network, premium features in our newsletter, and amplified social media reach across LinkedIn, X, and Facebook. This is your chance to educate, inspire, and lead while connecting directly with the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. This is DPRS Media Co. Let's build the future of Parks and Rec together. Welcome to DPRS Media Co., the first media company built for the people behind the Parks and Rec community. We don't just cover on Parks and Rec, we elevate it, we amplify it, we honor it. At the heart of everything we do is one mission: to serve the public servants, the professionals who design, maintain, and lead the parks that shape our communities. Under the Daily Parks and Rec Show, we produce 6 powerful platforms. Leadership in Parks and Rec, a spotlight on directors, superintendents, and visionaries shaping the future of public spaces. Facility Maintenance, where the boots hit the ground, a deep dive into the systems, crews, and craftsmanship that keep our parks clean, safe, and beautiful. Young Professionals Network, shining a light on the next generation of Parks and Rec. Students, interns, and mentors sharing how we build a legacy together. Youth Sports Mastery, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. This series is for coaches, parents, and rec leaders working to make youth sports fun, fair, and meaningful again. The Rec Room, hosted by the passionate leaders of Henry County Parks and Rec. This show brings frontline energy and real-life stories from the field. And the weekly Parks and Rec Post, our official newsletter delivering stories, insights, and community wins every week. We are DPRS Media Co., LLC, a media company with a mission to uplift the professionals who serve every community, every park, every day.